All right. Hello, magical mamas. This is Jude and Dari here. I wanted to come and make an update video, and I think I wanted to kind of go back over my story again because I feel like I didn't really share, at least not on this channel. I have not shared my birth story, so I wanted to do that. And Lord, this is coming right off the dome, so I don't even know really where to begin. So I'll begin basically where it started here for you guys, which is when I actually found out that I was pregnant. And that was a pleasant shock and surprise. And the reason why it was a shock and a surprise was because I was actually under the impression that I may not be able to have children just because of other times in my life where I had been obviously active and nothing happened. Like literally, there were times I felt that I really wanted to get pregnant and I was just unable to, okay? Like as a part of relationships, very serious and committed relationships that I was a part of, and I simply wasn't able to conceive. And we weren't like actively practicing contraception, and yet no baby, okay? But I always did somewhere in the back of my head believe that maybe the reason why I had not conceived was simply because it wasn't divine timing. Source, God, as I like to call them, or them, and they had not yet said that it was my time, and maybe the circumstances were not yet conducive to that, okay? My mentality may not have yet been conducive to that, and I understand that as I got older, I began to understand that. However, it's crazy because I was meditating so much more before having my daughter. I know that Spirit told me that I was getting ready to have a family of my own. Hey, mommy. Spirit was definitely sharing with me well ahead of time that I was going to be having a family of my own. And so with that being said, it's like I was just getting this information, but I tend to get information years before they actually manifest. So I was thinking that that was going to be kind of like what this was about. And I was just being like, okay, I was just grateful for the insight, right? And Spirit was even literally leading and guiding me to information about fertility, little things that I could do to increase it. And so what I did, I literally acted upon them. I was also in this stage in my life where I was trying to use my magical power practically. So you want to work on fertility. There are certain herbs that you can begin to, like, you can literally get a couple herbs together, put them in a satchel. And this is what I actually did. I put a few herbs that are known to increase fertility in a satchel. I had my Palo Santo, I blessed that satchel, but most importantly, I had my intentions, right? And I was armed with the information that Spirit was telling me I was gonna have my own family. You okay, mommy? Yeah, that beautiful girl is okay. So with that being said, I went ahead and created my satchel. I prayed over my satchel, and I was led to put it in important places in my apartment at the time, which I had also manifested. So I put my satchel underneath the bed. So, I mean, that is where things go down, right, to help procreate. And so that's where I was able to put my particular satchel. I also prayed over my home. There was a lot of things that I did, okay, that some I'll save for like another story time. But as far as for fertility purposes, I created a satchel, I blessed it, and I set my intentions just based on the information and the wisdom that I feel Spirit has shared with me, okay? So that's all I did, and it's like I really forgot about it, right? Then, I didn't really try to figure out how anything was going to happen, but shortly after that, I met my now boyfriend and her father, and it was actually a really practical way that happened too. My car at the time, which I no longer have, but that's okay because we are manifesting another one. Sapphire was having some problems, and so I needed to have her repaired and worked on. And so through a mutual friend of the family is how I met this young man. It's how I met him. So with that being said, he was coming to fix my car. And from there, it literally organically, but very, very quickly happened. Okay. So, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if you guys are like me, but when you are armed with information, it's like, it makes you like open, but alert, if that makes sense. So, I was expecting something and someone to come into my life because I had just been getting a lot of messages during meditation about a person coming into my life, me starting my own family. I literally remember going to my father's gravesite, and upon leaving his gravesite, I believe that his spirit spoke to me and let me know that there was going to be someone coming into my life who was going to be very much similar to him, but who was going to love me in a way that he always intended to. That's a whole nother story. I might talk about it later, but I was getting downloads leaving the cemetery from visiting my father's gravesite. And so it's like, that was literally maybe a month, not even. It could have been 2 or 3 weeks before I met my current boyfriend and her father. So with that being said, there were very key details that I was given about this person and what their energy would be like. And one of the most profound things was that my father's birthday was going to somehow be very, very significant, right? So when me and this young man met on this day that he was coming to see about my car, no, we're not thinking about anything other than this business, right, that's at hand. But I am armed with information, and I'm just like, I just have the information and I'm paying attention. I'm alert. Okay. Long story short with that, his energy, I recognized just almost immediately. I don't know. I'm very intuitive. So I work in my gifts. I trust myself now. Like, I'm learning more and more to trust myself. I wouldn't say that I'm absolutely 1000% sure of myself, but my intuition and my feelings are so strong that I've had to learn to start trusting what spirit shows me and what I feel on initial meetings with people. My Mercury is in Cancer, so that is the way that I receive intel, the way that I give intel out, and the lenses which intel comes into me. So with that being in Cancer, I'm a water sign there, and water signs are psychic, intuitive, feel things very deeply, right? And they can see and feel things that other people may not always feel and see. So at any rate, I definitely could sense his energy. And I remember feeling like I just wanted to encourage him. Like, oh my God, I wanted to encourage him so much. He reminded me of a former version of myself, a healer who did not have boundaries and really whose esteem in themselves was low to where they felt like even being of service and making money, they never wanted to, hurt anyone in doing that. They never wanted to ask for what they were worth, even for fear, just fear that maybe the people aren't going to give it to them or whatever, just didn't know their worth. That was the energy that I felt. Hold on, guys. That was the energy that I felt coming from my boyfriend, who wasn't my boyfriend at the time. So I recognized that very fast, and I just wanted to encourage him so much. And I just operated in that like I just did. On the first time that we ever, he came to do work, he worked on my car. I did my best to leave him alone, but I wanted to make sure that I was hospitable, because the Leo in me sometimes can be really more so focused on myself and the way that I like to be and what makes me comfortable and stuff like that. But it also makes me want to do that for other people too from time to time. But I've been told in the past that I can be really selfish. So I just kind of I was working on myself, if that makes sense. And I really wanted to be sure that I was being hospitable. you know? So I was offering him, you know, wanted to make sure that I offered him something to drink and things like that because he had been out there for a really long time. And so he did accept those things. And for some reason, you guys, this is so weird, but I wanted to cook for him. I wanted to serve him, is what I'm trying to say. I was already going to cook for myself, right? But he wound up being there for so long. It was like around time that people would normally eat dinner. So I'm like, I've already made something. You're more than welcome to eat. Also, as a form of, another form of payment for him, I wanted to do a reading for him. So I didn't know anything about him. The family friend didn't really go into detail about him or about anything. They just, you know, put us in contact with each other. But I wanted to offer a reading. So he allowed me to do that. Now, I do want to say his sun sign is Sagittarius, and Sagittarians tend to be pretty mutable or open to things and all that kind of stuff. And they are a very deep and spiritual sign, even though it may not always come across that way. Moving on. He was open to me doing the reading for him. It would have been his first time. And I just was really grateful to do that. I find that I'm often, in the people who come to me for readings, I'm usually, hey honey, I'm usually the first person that's ever read for them. So it's their first time. Well, I got a chance to read for him and he was like, this was so accurate and it's spot on. So that was exciting. And that was our first initial meeting. I don't know if I cooked for him that day. I don't know if he let me cook for him that day. I think he did. I made him a plate along with myself. He sat on my sofa. I sat on another I sat somewhere in the house, whether it was at my dining room table or not, but we sat down and we shared a meal together, and he wound up leaving. I could be mixing up shit, y'all. My bad. It's been a little minute, but long story short, that was our initial meeting, and that was what happened in our initial meeting. After that, there was still more work that needed to be done on my car, so he did wind up having to come back anyways. But the next time he came back, we spent a little bit more time with one another. I want to say it was like a Monday, and on Mondays I consider it Manifestation Monday. And so at the time I was hosting a little event that I would like to do a live card pull or live reading for the collective and for whoever would join me. And we would sometimes just do something. It would always be themed and we'd do something. So he was there for that. We meditated for the first time. It was like we were in the same place, both meditating. So technically we meditated together. And he said that it was the first time in a very, very long time that he had done that, and that he felt so at peace, he cried. And I didn't notice that right away. Like, I didn't even know what the hell was going on. I was in my own world. I was doing my own thing. And so I didn't even know that he cried until later, like once he told me. But long story short, it's like I could feel something there, but I wasn't 1000% sure. And I don't know if you guys have ever been there where you can feel intuitively something else is going on, but you don't want to speak on it because you don't want to be wrong. Ooh, look at that burp, mommy. You don't want to be wrong, and you also just don't want to seem crazy, okay? And that, you know, it was all of those things for me, but I wasn't going to say nothing. I wasn't going to say anything. And the main reason I didn't want to say anything was because I read his cards for him. And in his cards, it talked about him meeting someone. It talked about the breakup that he had recently gone through. And it talked about him meeting someone and eventually becoming a father and getting married maybe and yada, and having this life that was going to be beautiful. And I didn't want it to be like I was interjecting myself technically into his reading. It's so strange, but that was my mind frame. So I wasn't saying anything about anything, but I felt like you can tell when somebody's feeling you. I don't know if you guys can. I wasn't always able to do that, but intuitively though, I be on point. But other times I'm totally lost and don't even know if somebody likes me until they're trying to kiss me or, other things. Long story short, I could feel it with him. And I actually wound up, it wasn't this time, but it was another time we were together. I just could not shut up. Like it was on my heart. And I was like, okay, I have to tell you something. So I shared what I was feeling with him. And I was like, hey, I'm going to tell you what I'm feeling. I want you to tell me if I'm wrong for feeling this or if there's something here. I shared it. He said there was something there. And from there, we just, it was like, oh, okay, so now I know that I'm not crazy for what I feel that I'm feeling from you. And he was like, yeah, no, I definitely feel this way. Like, and I want to change your status. And I was like, you want to change my status? And he was like, yeah, I don't want you to be single anymore. And I'm like, what? Now, my boyfriend is so he's very, very reserved, actually. And he's quite quiet unless he knows you and unless he's really cool with you. Other than that, he doesn't really talk too much. He says what he has to say. And then he's going on about his business. So, for me to know this now about him, the way that he was very direct with me was actually different for him. Anyway, so I just think it's really cool how it all happened. But once we acknowledged that there was something there, it kind of went fast from that point on. He felt like I was very peaceful. I had helped him to connect in a way to himself that he hadn't in a very long time. And he enjoyed my company. So we wound up still having to have work on Sapphire anyway, so he had to keep coming by. But it wound up being like this thing where as he was working on my car, we were getting to know each other more as well. And he just made himself available to me. Before I knew it, we had this conversation about how he was cutting off, all his hoes for me. And I had recently made the decision to stop dealing with someone as well that had been long standing in my life. So yeah, we both wound up, having to just like make this decision to stop dealing with those who we were dealing with before and become mutually exclusive. And we did. And from there, we spent a lot of time together. He would come out to visit me after his job and stuff like that. And oh my God, the first time that we kissed, it was very intense. And I don't even think that's the best word to describe it, but it's the best one I've got right now. It was a very intense kiss. I was able to be very vulnerable in front of him. And it was really crazy because I am very, very sensitive with my Mercury in Cancer. My feelings are like, oh my God, heart on my sleeve type chick. However, the Leo part of me wants to protect myself. And, I show this other exterior to people. But with him, child, it just didn't work. That didn't happen. Like, I was very, very mushy with him. And and he just allowed me to be in that space. And that is something that I'm very grateful for. And to this day, he still does me like that. So that's that with that. We wound up, the kiss was insane and intense. And then we didn't do anything right then, but the very next time that we were around one another, it went down. And it was very passionate. I don't want to go into too much detail because this video is getting lengthy, but the point is, it went down. We did our thug thizzle. That was not when we got pregnant though. We actually did not get pregnant until I feel like it was another Manifestation Monday. Come here. It was another Manifestation Monday. Hey, beautiful. You are gorgeous, mommy. Can you leave my wig alone, please? Will you please let mommy be great? Thank you. So it was actually on a Manifestation Monday. It was one that I did not do anything like as far as like what I was normally used to doing, which was the live card pulls for people or the general reading. It was just me and him together. I did my own ritual, but actually we did a ritual that night. And we conceived this little girl. And if we didn't conceive her that particular night, the next time we were sexually active, we conceived her shortly after, just setting our intentions mutually together during intercourse. So sex magic. And I was kind of teaching him about that through experience. Okay. Anyway, the following month, and before I move on, I have to tell you, like, remember I was sharing with you guys that Spirit was already telling me that I was going to be having my own family. When I became pregnant, I started having a series of dreams. Now, before I ever got pregnant, when I was a young girl, like maybe 11 through 14, I remember praying. Oh, mommy. I prayed and I asked the Most High to let me know when I was pregnant. I wanted to know. I didn't want to miss it. So I believe that that prayer was answered because I can't say that I knew right at conception. I feel like I felt something happen, but you know how you disbelieve yourself, right? I was in disbelief about that, but I started having a series of dreams that all alluded to pregnancy, okay? On top of that, while I was in my mirror in that same apartment one day, my spirit expressly told me to look at this area on the left side of my stomach. And for some reason, there was an area that grew brighter right there. It was a part of my skin, and it just got brighter. And it had kind of grown a little bit. And they were telling me to pay attention because I was pregnant. That was weird, but that was my first initial sign. Look at this patch, you're pregnant. I remember then, after standing in the mirror, looking at myself, looking at my boobs, everything. And I just started noticing subtle changes in my body. On top of the fact that my spirit team kept letting me know, be careful. Don't do this. Don't do that. Be careful about this particular herb. You're pregnant. You're pregnant. You're pregnant. Don't do too much yoni steaming right now. You're pregnant. Months before I ever took my test, okay? So with that being said, you guys, Spirit informed me that I was pregnant before I had really major symptoms of being pregnant. I had one last period where I wound up spotting and stuff like that, but then it stopped and it went away. And I noticed that I didn't have another period. But my periods can be irregular sometimes. So it was kind of just like, oh, well, maybe it's one of them times. No, the whole time I was pregnant. Now, I had also been instructed to purchase pregnancy tests. This was all well before I met my boyfriend, okay? I didn't tell y'all that part, but that's a part that needs to be known. I bought pregnancy tests before I even met my boyfriend. Before I even knew who I would be experiencing this family with and all of that kind of stuff, I bought pregnancy tests. So I'm saying that to say that that's a way that, that's like faith in action. If your spirit team tells you something or whatever, and you're led to take certain types of actions based upon what they shared with you, I'm a person who will do it. I think it's wise to do. I think it also shows that you believe the report that your spirit team is bringing to you. So for me, I bought pregnancy tests. I bought some from off of Amazon, and then I actually used those up. Okay. I didn't use them. I used them down. They dwindled down. I used a couple and I got I got negatives the times that I did take the pregnancy test. So I was just like, okay, so I'm not pregnant. And I remember feeling a little down and disappointed about it. But I was like, okay, I'm not pregnant. Cool. And, y'all. So around that time that I became pregnant, I had one last hurrah with the person that I had just decided to break up with. It should be a story, child. These are the things that Lifetime movies and shit is made out of. Whatever. I had one last hurrah with that person, if you catch my drift. And then literally 2 days later, me and my now boyfriend had sex for the very first time. So eventually when I did become pregnant, I did feel the need to share it for whatever reason with the other guy. It could have been because I just kind of wanted him to know and that I was still holding on to that connection, even though I was supposed to have let it go. It could be a numerous amount of things. But it was also that I wanted to, let him know just in case he had anything to do with the conception. So me and my guy were together. His name is Darius. Me and Darius were actively together and now in our own little bubble and bliss. And we were getting it on a lot. So, I really can't say when we actually Come here, come here, come here, come here. You poo-poo. I can't say when we actually conceived, but November 19th, as some of you guys who watched my video already know, that's when I got my first positive pregnancy test. What you doing, mommy? Why are you bothering that? Anyway, that's when I got my first my first positive pregnancy test. I was so happy inside, but I was definitely shocked. And actually, Darius is who told me that I was pregnant first. Like when I finally mentioned to him, because, okay, so aside from the initial and subtle changes in my body that Spirit told me to pay attention to and just Spirit telling me that I was pregnant, I wound up having indigestion with everything, like fruit, water, vegetables, and of course, things like wine. I had indigestion with it all. And I was like, what in the world is going on? But never did I think that I was pregnant. I didn't, okay? So it wasn't until I had a couple conversations. The first one was with him and he was like, or you could be pregnant. And he sounded so excited about that. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't think so. Is that one of the, I had read that that's a thing, but I didn't know for sure. So I did Google while we were on the phone, and clear as day, it said that a common early symptom of pregnancy is indigestion. And I was like, well, child, look at here. And I was like, but I didn't want to believe it. You know, for some reason, I didn't want to believe it, but it was more so because I didn't want to get happy and I wasn't, right? So yeah, after us being together, I'm sorry if you guys can hear the noise. After us being together that particular day, I didn't take the pregnancy test until after he left. I took one while he was there, but I fucked it up. And I had to go to the store and get another one later, but I did. And that was the one that let me know, hands down, you're pregnant. And it was one that was really not that expensive. Whatever it was the pink and white one. It was one of the last ones that I bought from Amazon. I did what I'm supposed to do, peed on the stick and stuff. Or I didn't even pee on the stick. I peed in a cup, captured a little bit of my urine, put it in there, and just let it sit. And I walked away from it and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was so anxious in the best way. I was anxious. And I did whatever else I needed to do around the house. And I may have gone to go get in the bed because I had really been experiencing a lot of fatigue anyway, but just never correlating the two. I go back to the damn stick and I'm looking at it. And I'm like, okay. And I don't think this had instructions, which was crazy, or if it did, I must have threw them away. So I literally had to go to Google to figure out what is the pregnancy thing. Like, what does it mean? Like, what is it going to look like when you're pregnant? So when I'm looking at the stick, it almost didn't look like there was anything there. So I had this one strong pink line or red, whatever color it was. But then there was this very, very faint, very, very light colored line that showed up. And in my heart, I knew I was pregnant. Like, I knew that meant pregnant, but I wanted to be 1000% sure. So I go to Google and I'm like, what do these tests, what does a positive pregnancy test look like? And when I saw one that looked like mine, I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And then I didn't even tell Darius right away. I wound up telling my close sister, one of my sisters who I consider like my best friend sister out of my biologicals. And then I told my friend at the time. And I was telling them, though, I was asking a question like, is this what I think it means? And I sent them pictures and they were like, bitch. Like, they don't talk like that. They're not mean or whatever. And this is definitely endearing. And I remember when I used to judge people about that, but I don't anymore. But they were like, baby, my sister friend called me immediately. And she was like, Jude, you're pregnant. And she had been saying it too. So it was just, it was true. I was pregnant, y'all. So 30 minutes later, it took me 30 minutes to tell y'all I was pregnant. I'm going to stop here because this can be lengthy. I will make a part 2 where I actually talk about more of my symptoms, and I talk about, so basically this was my conception story, right? And just finding out that I was pregnant. In the next video, I'll talk about, oh my God, yeah, the symptoms that I experienced, and then I'll talk about birth. So yeah, thank you guys for whoever watched until this far. I kind of had fun telling that story. I hope I didn't seem too crazy or like all over the place. But yeah, that's where I'll stop right now. If you're new to the channel, you guys consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be coming back with more stuff. I'm in the process of working on figuring out what I really want this channel to be about and the things that I want to talk about on the channel. But I thought it was fitting to come and kind of talk about how I became a mommy and this beautiful little girl here. Okay, she is now teething. Okay, so brief update, she's now teething. She's 5 months going on 6. She will be 6 months pretty much this month on the 12th. So I'm very happy that and very blessed that she is still here, that I have kept her alive, honey, this long. And we hope and pray that spirit and source will help me to continue keeping this beautiful soul alive so that she can, you know, work out her own soul salvation and, you know, her own journey to ascension. Okay, look at her, she's biting on my fingers now. Okay, she eats on anything. Okay, we've bought toys specifically for her to eat on for teething, and she doesn't want those. No. She wants the impractical things. And actually, it's practical because it's always around her. So it's like me, my fingers, her daddy's fingers, keys, just whatever. So I let her do her thing. But I do wish that she would play with the things that were meant, you know? But that's just not what happens. Go, mommy, go. So, okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with a part 2 if you guys even want one. If you're not interested and you guys don't look at this, I'm not gonna come back and talk about that shit, because for what? No one's listening. But if there's just one person who says that they want to hear the story, I will gladly come back, okay? All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, bye.